So before we get started, I wanted to say a couple things. First off, thanks for everyone who's liked, shared, subscribed. It's been amazing. It's been great to see the channel grow. And secondly, I want to kind of speak to the people who don't agree with me. I will say things that people won't always agree with. I'll have viewpoints that people don't agree with. And I invite anyone who disagrees with me to come in the comments, to comment on the videos, to comment on TikTok, to comment on Instagram. What I will not accept, though, is people telling me, one, how to be a fan, calling me not a fan, or just calling me out of my name because they disagree with me. I won't have that in my community. I won't have it on my channel. And I don't want anyone to berate other people in my comments. It's a small channel. Not everybody's going to agree with me. And I love debate. I love giving, my viewpoint. I love hearing alternate viewpoints because I'm not one of these guys who will just stay on the wall because it's the most popular thing to do. If you say something, I say, you know what? That makes sense. You know what? I can see that. I agree. But what I don't want is people to not have anything constructive to say and then start calling you out of name, calling you plastic, saying, you've only started supporting yesterday. I've been supporting for 10 years. I'm not one of these hybrid gooners. And it just so happens that way. But what I will not have is people telling me or calling me or any of, the younger fans, any of the American fans, any of the Indian fans, anyone who they don't agree with, less of a fan. That's not happening on my channel. It's not happening in my community. If I see it, I'm going to block you. And if you're going to be that way, leave. I'd rather have 10 subscribers that I can have conversations with, who will listen, who will engage, than a million subscribers who just waffle and abuse people. I'm not going to have that in my community, and I don't want it. So that being said, let's start the video. Hola Theados, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another ammo check where we kind of talk about the temperature of the club. It's been a while since I've done this. I wanted to wait. I think the last one I did was the whole Tony Adams thing, but I wanted to wait until after a couple games, the Champions League, the Carabao Cup, to kind of speak about how the club feels. Now, let's talk about the club overall. Overall, I think there is a little bit division in the club as far as the fan base. I think that there's always division, but I think now the grumbles are starting to get a little bit louder. Today's episode, I want to talk about kind of two aspects where Arsenal have had issues in the past. So we're going to talk about the sporting director, and we're also going to talk about the manager. As far as the club as a whole, it's mixed because, while we are second, we're already 5 points behind Liverpool. And I think, half of the fan base is saying that it's still early in the season. There's still a lot of games to be played, which is true. And then another part of the fan base is seeing our team selection and how we're playing games and seeing that 5 points as deja vu. Things that we've seen in the last couple years where we fall behind and it's impossible to come back. So, me personally, I'm just riding the wave. I think that it is still kind of early, but there are red flags. You can't ignore the fact that there are red flags in how we play and kind of the personnel moving around. But like I've heard on, online, people are saying you have to give him time to get these players bedded in to his system. So, yeah, it's a mixed bag. It's a very mixed bag. But we're not out of the title race. We're still in the Champions League. We've moved to the next round of Carabao Cup. So, regardless of whether, you're being critical, you still have to be excited that at this point in time, we are still in a good space. We still have, things to play for. We're still okay. So we're going to Newcastle, and yeah, that one's always a tough one. We haven't done well at St. James Park, but I'll talk about that in the match preview. Like I said, I want to talk about kind of the two big positions at this club, the two positions that people have a lot of opinions over, people have had a lot of opinions over. And let's start with Berta. Let's start with our sporting director. So, when I came into this club, when I joined this club, we had guys like, Raul Sanlehi, Sven Mislintat, Vinay. We had I feel like our sporting directors were all over the place. I mean, we basically let Alexis Sanchez walk for Mkhitaryan, which that really didn't work out. We overpaid Mesut Ozil, and then he was on a decline. We did sign Aubameyang, and then we gave him away for free. So there's been like a lot of times where you've looked at the sporting director and you're just kind of like, not again. And then when, Mikel came around, we did hire Edu. And I think a lot of people, myself included, were saying, oh, Edu is an invincible. He knows the club. He's been, I guess he was like, the technical director for Brazil. So we were thinking, he's got a little bit of experience. He'll come in. He knows the club. He's got the Brazilian connection. Maybe we'll get some Brazilians. We got Marquinhos. We got Marquinhos, and we got Fabio Vieira, who's not even Brazilian. He just speaks Portuguese. Some of Edu's moves were kind of head scratchers, and I think the biggest head scratcher, and we're still scratching our heads, was Kai Havertz, to be fair. $65 million for a guy that was supposed to be our Granit Xhaka replacement, and we found out that the best place for him is actually up front. So, Edu was a mixed bag. And then, Edu left just kind of abruptly to go take that job with Nottingham Forest. And, he's over there causing chaos because Nuno brought those guys up, and then Edu's come in, and Nuno's been sacked for Big Ange. But I don't know. It ain't my club. It's not my thing to talk about. So, yeah, we get rid of Edu. Well, Edu leaves. He goes on gardening leave. He leaves. And then I think the whole fan base is kind of thinking, who we getting in? And the reports are saying Jason Ato. We're getting Jason Ato. Jason Ato is a front runner. And it's like, yeah, but you were just in the job and you really didn't do anything. I think a lot of fans were just like, we don't want a repeat. We don't want another guy who's stepping up who has no experience. And then I feel like out of left field, we got Berta. We got Berta. And Berta is a guy who's worked with, I think, one of the toughest no-nonsense managers we've seen in football, Diego Simeone. He's worked with a tight budget at Atletico. They don't have the money that Real have. They don't have the money that Barcelona have. And they still competed. And I think that might have appeased to our owners because, they like to save a penny. But also, he's got the connections. He's got that no-nonsense. So I didn't know what I was expecting, but I definitely wasn't expecting the summer we have. I wasn't expecting this guy to come. I wasn't expecting Eberechi Eze to come. I wasn't expecting, I expected Zubamendi, but some of the guys. Let's talk about his masterclass, right? And I know it's very early. We haven't seen Mascara. We got to talk about Mascara. In the 4 or 5 appearances he's made, £15 million is a steal. I think that Andrea Berta has been banned from Valencia. He can't go back there. I think the Valencia's is bored. They have to be looking for that guy. If he finessed that kind of move. And I'm not going to say, Mascara is William Saliba part 2.0, but he looked better than Kivior. And we paid, $25-30 million for Kivior? So to leave Spain for 15 million quid, yeah, I think Berta should stay on this side of Europe for a while because he finessed him. And then we got Norgard. It's a shrewd sign. It's good. Hingapia, he looks good. We got him for cheap as well. Nani Madueke, I think that Nani Madueke is always going to divide opinion because it's a Chelsea. It was a Chelsea signing, and we still got a lot of PTSD over Kai Havertz and Willian. So, but I'm not gonna lie, man. Nani Madueke, before he got injured, he looked solid. We all knew that he has to add, the finishing article to his game. But those first couple games, the way he was rinsing people and dropping shoulders, I'm like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it as a good backup. He's out for the next couple months, which is very sad. But I'm glad it's not more. 52 million is a lot, but if that's what we paid, and we got him and Eze and Gyökeres, and it's like, yeah. We even got Kepa for cheap. So Berta's done a great job, but I think Berta's biggest masterclass was what he pulled off yesterday which is re-signing William Saliba. Now, before Edu left, we had all heard that Real Madrid was snooping around. And anytime, I lived in Spain. I went to Sevilla games. I used to watch Sevilla. So I've watched Real Madrid. I know what type of club they are. Anytime Real Madrid come for a player, red flags go up. Red flags go up because once they start circling, if they really want you, it's very, very hard for you to turn down Real Madrid. I mean, look at Mbappe. We thought Mbappe would not leave PSG. They got him. So you have to kind of watch out for Real Madrid. I mean, Trent Alexander-Arnold, the man, he is now being vilified in Liverpool because he went to Real Madrid on a free. That's crazy. But, yeah, anytime Real comes snooping, you have to be alert, because they will take your players. And I think a lot of, with other players in the squad, you're kind of they'll re-sign. But with Saliba, you were kind of man, I mean, he's young, he's 24. To go be at 24, the center of Real Madrid's defense, where you had guys like, Sergio Ramos, you got, just big, imposing center backs who are world beaters. If I was a player, it would sound enticing to me. So for Berta and Mikel Arteta to kind of get William Saliba to sit down and say, I'm committing, the near future to you guys, masterclass. And it's good for the morale of the fans. It's good for the morale of the squad, knowing that, one of their stalwarts, one of the biggest pillars of our team is committed to the team. I think it's very good for everyone that he signed a contract. And I think, we still have Saka to go. He still hasn't signed yet. But I think every fan will tell you when it came to Saliba and Saka was always a win, not an if. And Saliba was always an if, not a win. So the fact that we don't even have to doubt or worry anymore, masterclass. And I'm sure with all the work that Berta's done, he'll get Saka over the line. And then you think, overall, I didn't expect him to do that much business, especially getting guys out, bringing guys in, re-signing contracts in his first summer. And it's been 5 months? And he's done a phenomenal job in getting everything done. So, yeah, it's just a breath of fresh air, man. It's fresh to have a guy who's in charge, who's no nonsense. People respect him around football. He's not getting bopped over the head for fees. And he's getting the dead weight out. He's putting, clauses on deals and stuff. That's what we wanted to see. No more brown envelopes, no more shady deals. Just shrewd business. And it's so refreshing to see. Now on the other side, Berta, we've got Berta and we're all happy with Berta. On the other side, we've got our manager, Mikel Arteta. All right. And if you've watched this channel before, you know that I always say that I'm neither Mikel Arteta in or Mikel Arteta out. I'm just Arsenal win. And I think that the thing I try to do is I try to be balanced. I try to understand that Mikel has done well. And I've said it in my previous videos. He's done a lot off the pitch. He's gotten the fans back on side. He's done, North London forever. One of his ideas. He's got a lot of quirky ideas. He's got a lot of good things. And I, as a coach myself, I can see where you're trying to do, where you're trying to go with the direction. But at the end of the day, as we always say, as a coach, it doesn't matter what you do off the pitch. It's what you do on it. It's how your team performs. And yes, you've gotten second place. But at a club that's the third biggest in England, second place can't run for long. You have to get over the line. You have to get trophies in. And I think Mikel Arteta is now nearing that threshold of people are starting to wonder if you're really as good as you say you are. Because you can tell us that you're good. You can show us that you can get to second place. But can you get over the line? Brendan Rodgers, and I always use it, Brendan Rodgers did a good job with Liverpool. He got them to second. He was, a Stevie Gerrard slip away from returning Liverpool to the promised land. But guess what? They got rid of him. They got rid of him for, a better manager. And I'm not saying get rid of Mikel Arteta. And I want people to know that, I speak to people, and when I criticize him, oh, you want the manager out. I'm not saying I want him out. I just want him to do better. And I think those things aren't the same. It's not, oh, I want to get rid of the man. No, I just want him to do better. I criticize him because I want him to see the error of his ways. I want him to see that, that way isn't working. I want him to have, everybody talks about him being this genius. Everybody talks about him being this innovator. But then we're seeing defensive football. We're seeing what a lot of people are saying is scared, cowardly football. So if you're that much of a genius, surely you've got something figured out. And that's my thing. I think that overall, the thing that annoys me is when people say, oh, you criticize the manager, you hate the club. I'm an Arsenal fan. Whether Mikel is here or whether Mikel is not. One thing I will say, though, is I don't slag Mikel. I will not sit here and, call him out of his name. I won't say that anything he does, he got to be out. That's not true. I'm an Arsenal fan. And I think a lot of people think that, when you disagree with Mikel Arteta, you want him to fail. Why would I want him to fail? If Mikel Arteta fails as a manager, that means Arsenal's failing, which I don't want. I don't want this club to fail. I don't want the players to fail. I don't want the club to fail. I want the club to hit its heights. So the reason I'm so critical on Arteta is because I want him to do better. It's not that I want him to fail. And there are fans out there who would rather watch us lose to get Mikel Arteta out and to be, vindicated. I'm not that kind of fan. Because I think if Mikel Arteta does a bad job, then Arsenal do a bad job. And I don't want that. I want us to do well. But he's the last bastion. He's the last hurdle. He's the last person the board has changed. The players have changed. They've backed him. They've given everything he's wanted. He's got nowhere to hide now. He's got nowhere to run. It all falls on him. And as a coach, that's tough. The pressure mounts up. And as we can see in the fan base, the pressure is mounting. Even with celebrity fans, even with former players, the pressure is mounting. I was watching Overlap, and Ian Wright, to most Arsenal fans, I didn't get to watch him, but to most Arsenal fans, Ian Wright is one of the biggest players we have besides Thierry Henry. David Bergkamp. He is he's Arsenal through and through, and the fact that he is a very big supporter of Arteta, and even after the kind of result against Manchester City, he's, and Port Vale, he's kind of, he's not going to go against Mikel Arteta, which is fair. I'm not saying slag the manager, but even he's kind of frustrated. And it's like, he doesn't want the club to do bad. I don't want the club to do bad. But we can't ignore what we're seeing. And I think that's the problem that people have. If you say something, you say you don't agree with something, then people think you automatically hate it. And I can look at something and say he's done well. Leeds, I thought he did a phenomenal job. Leeds, I thought a corner was turned. Like, Leeds, we made early substitutions. We were attacking. We were great. But that's at home against a team that's not that good. Like, what happens when we're going to Newcastle? We're going to Newcastle where we haven't been great. Where we've seen us battle top fours, trophies, the league. Like, we've seen us not do well at St. James's Park. So, I think a lot of fans are looking toward that and saying, what do you have, Mikel? Are you still going to go this defensive kind of structure? Or are you going to pull it out of the bag? And I think even, the former players are starting to say, we want to see more. This is one thing I will say, though, and that annoys me on that as well, because Mikel does take a lot of criticism. But when people say, oh, a failed manager, Thierry was a failed manager, oh, Roy Keane, failed manager, Gary Neville, failed manager, Ian Wright, these guys weren't good at manager, how could they criticize? They're not, I don't feel like they're criticizing his tactics. I feel like they're criticizing they are criticizing his tactics, but not like X's and O's. I think they're criticizing the way the players that he selects and the kind of mentality, which is fair. We've seen this club front run. We've seen us be in front, and we're thinking all we've got to do is win 2 games, title's ours, and we crumble. Like, you don't have to be a top level player to see that. I'm not a top level player. I see it. These guys, Roy Keane, if you look at the history of Arsenal, how many times in Wenger's tenure, were we within this close of beating Manchester United and something happened we didn't? Like, if I'm gonna talk about any team or any group of players that has been at that pinnacle, who knows what it takes to get over the line, Roy Keane, and Gary Neville are probably two that I would say they know how to do it. They were part of one of the greatest Manchester United teams we've ever seen. I mean, Manchester United are terrible now, but those guys know how to win. Ian Wright, he won with Arsenal. He knows how to win. Thierry Henry is the greatest Premier League player we've ever seen and an invincible. He knows how to win. He knows what the mentality is like. And anyone who's got eyes can see we have talent, but do we have the mentality? Does our manager have the mentality? And so far, in 3 years finishing second, we don't. We don't have that mentality. Because some of those title races, Liverpool, you're looking at Liverpool last year. Do we think that Liverpool was better than us? Like, they have better, they have some better players, but they dropped a lot of points as well. But guess what? They did just enough to win. City, when they came back, they won the Carabao Cup. They came back. Like, that's what they do. That mentality is different. And I feel like being an Arsenal fan for as long as I have, for 10 years, I watched us not win the league against Leicester. And I thought it was still a mentality thing. I thought we lost games that we definitely should have won. And the thing is, everybody, I've got guys coming to me and saying, "Oh, we've got a high record against the Big Six." Yeah, that's great. But I remember Southampton beating us. I remember Brighton beating us. I remember Bournemouth beating us. I remember losing to Newcastle. These are teams that we should beat. These aren't top six sides. These aren't sides that are competing for a trophy. We're losing to, Crystal Palace and that lot. Like, those are the games that we don't win. And it's easy to beat those. We beat Leeds, right? But do I think that if we go to Ellen Road when they're battling relegation and we're battling for a title, am I confident in us? I'm really not. Because we've seen time and time again in those high pressure situations that we haven't coped. We didn't cope in the Europa League. We didn't cope against PSG. We didn't cope against Manchester United last year in the FA Cup. We didn't cope Newcastle in the Carabao Cup. So I think it's fair for players who've had that mentality, who've gotten over the line, to say, I've looked at this team and I just don't see it. And I think that's fair. No one's saying they hate Mikel. People are, but not me. I'm not saying that I hate Mikel. I don't think they're saying they hate Mikel. Saying that Thierry Henry is jealous of Mikel Arteta because he didn't have that great. I'm pretty sure Thierry Henry sleeps pretty good at night with his Champions Leagues and his Invincible Trophy. I think he's fine. And his World Cup as well. 3 things that, Mikel doesn't have. But, I think he sleeps fine. I don't think he's disparaging, Mikel Arteta. And I'm not disparaging. I'm just saying that you are a manager at the 3rd biggest club in England. You're the 4th highest paid manager in football. And for the past 5 years, we've been trophyless. That's fair. That's all fair to say. What I want to see is him change. I want to see him do something different. And this defensive football came about because we lost. We lost in 22-23. We started seeing, us play this kind of defensive midfield. Three kind of center mids, CDMs. We've seen it. We saw us started playing this early, and we just continued it. And I think Mikel, as a new manager, and I've done it as an offensive coordinator, you get, we had a game where I fumbled the ball. So you don't throw the ball next one. You say, I'm just going to keep it out of the running back's hands because we can't hold on to the ball. But that's a one-off game. Like, I can't just say I can't give those guys the ball anymore because they made a mistake. I can't just say I can't trust on this team anymore because we don't even have the same guys from that team. You had guys like Zinchenko and Gabriel Jesus, and Saliba wasn't. I think Saliba was injured, so you had Gabby, but you had like Kevio and Rob Holding. Like, we've got a good defense and we've got guys behind them. We've got Martin Odegaard, who he has looked a shell of himself, but he's still there. He's still talented. We got Eza, who's talented. We have Ethan Wanyeri, who's talented. We got Rice. We got Zoo. We had the best team I've seen in the 10 years I've been an Arsenal fan. And I just want Mikel Arteta, and I'm not going to use that phrase, take the handbrake off, because it's been overused. I want Mikel Arteta to free himself of that trauma. I want him to free himself of that the fact that we lost. We lost. We can't take that back. We lost 3 times. We can't take that back. But you being defensive, you being afraid, you having that PTSD is not going to help you be the manager you need to be. And I think the real reason that I can't slag Mikel Arteta is because I want to see him do well. Like, deep down, I want to see Mikel Arteta get over the line because I want to see Arsenal get over the line. I'm very wary that he will. Like, I'm very wary, and as many fans are, that he will get over the line. I think he has everything that's in there to get over the line. I've seen things, I've watched the documentary. I've seen some of the things he tries to do. But I'm also not going to hold on to hope. I can't just sit here and say, I got to give him 3 more years to figure out. Because a lot of these players only have 10-year careers, maybe 15-year careers. And after 2 more years of this, you're taking nearly half of their career without winning anything. So I think time is short, and I would like us to kind of take this year to see what happens. And if it doesn't happen, thanks for bringing us back to this point. Thanks for bringing us back to, a point where we're not a laughingstock anymore, a point where we're stability, a point where we can compete, but we want someone to take us over that line, and that's fair. We can look back on this and say, Mikel, thanks for everything you've done. You did a great job, bringing us out from where we were, but this manager's the guy. Liverpool weren't afraid to do it. City weren't afraid to do it. They had Pellegrini. They had won with Pellegrini. And then guess what? They said, we want to win the Champions League next. We want to keep winning. We'll get the best manager available. We got Pep Guardiola. Liverpool, we like being close, but we're Liverpool. We want to win. And they got Klopp. And then when Klopp left, they said, we want another winner. And we got Slot. Like, that's what we need. And as I said, I hope for the best from Mikel. I'm not going to slag him. I'm going to criticize him. But I'm also going to praise him when he does something well. Because he does do good things like we saw against Leeds. He has moments where you say, this is a masterclass. And I can't be one of those people that says, I just hate everything he does. I don't want to be like that. I want to praise him when he does well and criticize him when he doesn't. But playing away from home like we've been playing deserves criticism, honestly. So, yeah, I've waffled a little bit. But, I think, and I've told people this before, I'm going to give it to the end of the season. There's no point in me saying Arteta out. There's no point in me, I'm still going to whinge because that's what fans do. I'm going to whinge. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to come on here. I'm going to be on TikTok. I'm going to whinge when we lose. I'm going to be happy when we win. That's fandom. But I'm just not going to slag him because, I don't think he's the guy or I don't think he's doing what we should do. It's not me. It's not me. I will say that I don't think he should have done this, but I'm not going to call him out of his name, and I'm not going to say, it doesn't matter what he does, he needs to get out. I don't feel that way. I think that if he can figure out this year, then he deserves a chance to stay. But if not, just move on. That's it. I think it's very simple, and I think it's very fair to say that. So, as far as the ammo check, I'm happy. At this moment, I'm happy with how we've conducted our business this year. We've gotten the players that we got. They even got me buying merch again. I've got the training top. I got the kit. I want to go get the third kit. And that's Mikel as well. I can't sit there and say it's not Mikel. It's Mikel as well. So you have to give him credit. But I'm just tired of sitting at the end of the season and looking back and saying, man, I had such high hopes at the beginning. And then we're sitting here and I'm watching Chelsea celebrate. I'm watching Spurs celebrate. I've watched United celebrate. I've even watched Palace and Newcastle celebrate. Like, I just want to celebrate a trophy parade. That's it. That's all I want. I just want a trophy parade. So, yeah, on that note, I think that it is getting a little bit fractured. I think that we can turn it around. I think that it is still early in the season, but fans want to see more. Fans deserve to see more. And I think that Mikel has the opportunity. I think he's got the mentality. He's got the mental awareness. He's got the intelligence to change. He's got the intelligence to do it. And a lot of people are telling me just give him time. As far as the way we play, I'll give him to Christmas. But if the way we play doesn't improve and we're not getting results, then come the end of the year, I think it's time to move on. And I think that's where it's going to be. But I'm happy for Newcastle. As I said, my match preview will probably be out tomorrow. We'll talk about Newcastle. It's going to be 5 minutes. It's going to be horrible because we haven't done well. But I'm hoping that Mikel takes this criticism. I'm hoping that he takes the noise that he's heard. I'm hoping that he takes everything that everyone said. He uses his fuel, and he actually gets over the line this time. So with that was another ammo check. I'll see you guys for the 5-minute match preview. Take it easy.